This is the Open Space and Stewardship and Policies Work Group for August 7th. So call it to order, and the first item on the agenda is the minutes from our May 1st meeting. So it's been a while since we've met. Does anyone have any corrections or changes that they want to make?
No, I read them. I thought they looked fine.
Yeah, good. All right, so we have a motion to approve,
So moved.
and all in favor.
And I-
Few of us to do it. All right,
I will abstain because I wasn't there.
all right. Thank
Okay.
you. All right, so the next item is natural area stewardship properties to add. So Susan, why don't you take that?
Yeah, so there's two things that I wanted to bring up related to this. In the initial tranche of a few forests that we put under the natural area stewardship, there's some language that is reverse logic related to an area of the Ethel Walker Woods called the Wagner Meadow, which basically says you can't manage the meadow, but you can do whatever you want everywhere else. And it's actually supposed to be the opposite, because the meadow was donated with the intent, if the school wanted to maintain that meadow out in the woods for like a horse cross-country kind of course. And they're not doing that right now, but I knew the donor intent and history of that piece of the property. So I was just trying to honor that, and it just got mixed up. So one thing I want to do is fix that reverse logic. And the second thing, and this is great, Tom Roy just joined, because I did talk to him about this briefly, is think about what are the other areas that we want to have under this kind of natural stewardship policy, which is going well. And, conceptually, if we have areas that are intended as nature preserves, or we want to make sure we're using these natural buffers to reduce flooding, and erosion and all of that kind of stuff, we're kind of, we're ready to kind of move forward and put some properties on the list. And the thing that sort of precipitated me thinking about this was that little property that's the capstone project for Colin, the senior at Simsbury High School, Stillwood. It's called Stillwood or Stillwood Brook, which is just a sweet little gem of a property. And Helen, this property, remember you've talked about in the past those stone kind of cairns that mark the entrance of some of the old school trails in town. This is absolutely one of those properties that has those stone kind of pillars at each of the entrances. So it's nice in that it's kind of in the middle of a neighborhood, but anyone can go. It's town-owned open space. It has that historical style of these markings, and it's a beautiful little oasis in there. So that got me thinking. And
Susan, sorry to
obvious spaces.
just to be sure we're talking about the same one. It's the one where you enter it off of Stratton Brook, correct? Okay, just to be sure.
Yep. Yeah, it's this, you've mentioned that property before, and I had gone there many, many years ago, but just went again recently. And the problems are relatively minor and addressable. So anyway,
well, may I just to say one quick thing? There's another entrance from the Walker Drive neighborhood. There's another entrance right in the corner of two streets there. And so that particular neighborhood has direct access. There's also the neighborhood to the east going down toward Hot Meadow that's all in there. I can't think of the name of the development. There are plenty of people who access that area.
Yeah. Yeah, you can access it kind of from all sides, and all the sides have those stone markings, historical stone markings. So it's really a very nice experience there. So some of the other properties that I've been thinking of is that natural corridor on Owens Brook, which runs next to, there's that brook there, is kind of an important area to protect. Riverside Road areas that are, subject to flooding and erosion, keeping these natural areas is one of the, most cost-effective things you can do. And this doesn't mean we can't deal with invasives and all that kind of stuff. It's just trying to say, okay, this is intended to be a natural area. So right now what I'm kind of working on is thinking if we could all put our heads together and compile a list to then talk about specifically at the full meeting. And then we could then, slate that to talk about it at the Board of Selectmen at some point in the future. And so the last thing I want to say before I just turn it over to whoever is I wanted to ask Tom, one of the Toms, what would be the most helpful thing is just say where it is or try and get the parcel ID, or what's the most helpful to try and identify these areas?
I have an idea.
Go ahead.
The book that was compiled a couple of years back, several years back, that identifies all the properties in town, that has an ID for any of the properties that we're looking at. So that is a good resource so that you don't have two different kinds of listings. And so that brings up the question as to if that particular document we keep it updated, then you don't have two places to go to pull it together. You don't have two IDs.
Is that the inventory, Helen? The open space inventory?
And say that again?
The inventory?
Yes.
Well, that's a great idea, actually, because that's all online and, something we can all look at.
So with the natural area stewardship, it would then apply to all of the open space,
To the ones included.
the ones included. Okay.
Policy would be amended to include whatever list you recommend to the Board of Selectmen, and they choose to adopt to add to the list.
Okay.
So right now I'm just focusing on us putting our heads together to put specific additional properties on the list. And I was focusing mostly on these natural properties like Stillwood, the Owensbrook corridor, and maybe if there's areas that are buffering our water, stuff like that. It's not affecting grasslands or anything like that.
It wouldn't hurt to look at the index, let's say, or just look at that document. It may already have a beginning list of natural areas. Who knows? We don't look at that often enough to help us guide us as we're doing these policy issues, discussing the policy issues. So maybe a look-see at that document first to see if it could give us a lead to the next step.
And I guess I have a question for Tom and Tom. What if we put them on the list, would it change how we're managing them now or in the future?
Well, we're not really most of these places. I don't want to speak for Tom Roy, that the ones that are roadside, but most of them we typically aren't doing anything anyways, because we've abandoned most of the forest management plans. The ones that are meadows, we're managing as meadows as directed. Something like Stillwood, Stillbrook, I apologize. Stillbrook, we really not doing anything over there now. I mean, it's just kind of, I think what Susan's getting at is it's kind of preserving it from us doing anything in the future. We would, if a tree falls, we're going to clear it off the trail, but we're not going to remove the tree. So to continue access, we're really not going to be going in spraying or anything like that. So all we're doing is kind of giving the policy kind of gives guidelines or guide rails, like our guardrails, I guess, as to how we're going to care for it in the future. But
isn't it excuse me, let me start that again. Natural areas, they don't need a lot of management. They just need to have look-sees
Yeah. Yeah, and do what
That's
we
what I'm
need to
getting at.
do.
see
Yeah,
the gross problem, the purpose of having these designated as natural areas is already stating the fact that we are not supposed to interfere and touch it unless there's a grave reason to do so.
Yeah. So most of them, I would imagine, are probably wetlands and marginal lands and.
yeah. Yeah, I
Correct.
mean, I'm only picking areas that we're already doing this,
Yeah.
just to kind of affirm this is what we're doing and,
Yeah.
which can prevent like accidentally doing something that we didn't intend to do.
Okay. Anything else on that one?
No, I would, if we have the opportunity, if we could just, Tom's crew and Tom have been working really hard the last week with the storm. If there's anything you need of Tom Roy, now would be a good time to ask him so that if we can clear him off, he can get home and get some rest.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That was.
I know, so sorry,
awful.
Tom.
No,
Can
no, not at all. Like I'm happy to be here, and really, I think in many ways on this committee, I'm here to support you guys in any way you need, and at the same time, our department on this one really comes in and helps Culture, Parks, and Rec with whatever we can do on open space and make sure we have similar practices. So really, I guess if there's anything for me, let me know, and if not, I'll hit the road.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Tom, can you just stay on for I know the next topic is actually related to this, which is
Okay.
money for seeds and compost and plants. And so there might be some areas where, related to the erosion and water and stuff like that. You don't have to stay on the meeting, but I want you to think about, from your perspective, where are areas that we could benefit from adding, this kind of stuff to enhance or make a natural buffer, and what areas you think would be good to put on the natural area stewardship policy.
Okay.
So those are my two requests.
Sure.
Susan, where's this funding coming from? Just out of curiosity.
It's from a settlement at Farmington River Watershed Association. And so I've, asked a bunch of questions to ask what the money can be used for. And it can be used for seeds, for plants, for compost. And we really are, we're welcome to tap into it if we have a good project. They can't provide the labor for installing it, but they'll buy the materials. And let's say we get the stuff and it all dies, they'll even have like a 3-year, she said they would honor a 3-year timeline to replace it if it croaks.
Okay. Would that include different wildflower mixes, things like that?
Yep.
And Tom, when you're doing when you do a conservation seed mix or wildflower mix, where do you usually go to get them?
We go to one of the local hardware stores typically.
No, I know you don't. But I mean, I was just curious as to which source you get, because I know I was working with the golf course guys, and some of the seeds are better than others.
We found, I won't say which one, at least especially for the grass seed, we have been paying for a higher quality grass seed, but now we seed it once, not 3 times.
Okay, and so it's in some of the areas for grass. Are they native grasses, or are they a conservation seed mix?
If we're doing grass, it would typically be like where we're backfilling behind curbs in neighborhoods.
Okay.
So it's extending somebody's
Okay.
lawn that we
Right.
had dug up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And in other areas where we're off the edge of the road far enough, we've done the conservation mixes in the past.
Right.
And again, if there's a better source, we'd be happy to shop wherever, because again, the cost of the seed is generally very small compared to the cost of the labor and equipment to get it down.
Yeah. No, I was just curious. All right, thanks, Tom,
Sure.
and thanks for all the cleanup work.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, I'm going to duck out unless you got anything else for me. Okay.
Thanks for
We'll
coming.
see y'all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so the funding, the through the settlement fund, what was this was a recent thing? I haven't heard about this.
I don't think it's that recent. I just think that maybe a lot of people don't know about it. I didn't really know about it. And I realized it could kind of help with several problems at the same time, that we, want to have more native plants and all that stuff. And, we want to have buffers on our water. We want, money for this stuff. So
Yeah.
all of that could come
This-
together.
And this is managed by the FRWA
Yeah, we would write to Amy Petrus
and
about
it's
with
for
a proposal.
Simsbury.
I'm not sure if it's for the whole, I think it might be for the whole
Lower Farmington.
watershed association. I'm not Lower Farmington. I'm not sure about
Okay,
that.
because I know we've been putting in grants and for some invasive plant removal for the Simsbury Land Trust, and they've paid for certain things through the grant program for wild and scenic. I didn't know that might be something separate for a settlement, but I don't.
Yeah, this would only be if you can't use it to remove the invasives.
No.
For the labor, it's only for the stuff you would put in.
Yeah.
But
okay,
still,
good.
that's a piece of the
That's
puzzle.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Find out more.
So that's the other thing for everyone to put their thinking cap on. How could we start mobilizing that money, right? So let's say if we wanted to do that project for example, and I think there's other projects that would be about this scope. Let's say we wanted to tackle Onion Mountain, right? But then we didn't want to leave the soil all like scarified with who knows what to move in. We could then, seed or plant stuff there to prevent that. Or maybe there's an even smaller project that we could use as a like test case for this or something. So anyway, let's think about that.
All right. Thank you. All right. And then finalize topics for full group left over for, let's see, about light pollution. I know the Dark Skies organization has been moving ahead. They have model regs that they put together a nice little brochure. They're going to be sending that out to the towns, or that we can give to the various boards. But they're going to have on September 4th a Zoom on the dark sky model regulations. I know I've signed up, and I did ask Tom and Brittany to send it around to various boards. But that having a model reg really, really helps. So hopefully that will move forward. And I know we did a presentation at the Conservation Commission. Not sure if it was on our local filming, but we did do a presentation on dark skies there.
Yep. And there's the one that's recorded by SCTV, Simsbury Community Media. I'm not sure if we sent that around. And I'm going to put in the chat. There's an article in the most recent issue of like the Planners magazine about the dark sky issue that Leo Smith, who helped with the model regs, he wrote a whole article about it, which might be good kind of like background for, someone reading about it or trying to figure out why these model regs are important kind of thing.
So maybe we can post the model regs and various things, the presentations on our website, Open Space website.
Well, you know what? Yeah, that's actually a great idea, is like a set topic to post all that stuff under a banner topic of dark skies or light pollution or whatever.
And we could come up with I know that there are a lot of brochures and things out there, but we could come up with just simple things that the public can do.
Yep.
All right. Anything else about light pollution? I know it's on the, we had a Conservation Commission meeting last night, and that was one of the things we discussed. It's one of the issues that we're trying to encourage the zoning commission to move forward with on their regulations, adopting new regulations, because it's in the POCD. And I know there's now a quarterly meeting for implementation for the POCD, and each commission has a representative on it, and with a checklist of, sort of a report card of what we're doing. So we're trying to move ahead with that one. a couple of other things, some basic plans. All right, anything more on light pollution? How about Trap Rock Bridge?
So that was another thing that was in the POCD, and we had also talked about a couple of years prior, is the Trap Rock Ridge enabling legislation. And since then, I've seen some like language on ridgeline protection, but I think, so what we had talked about a while ago is just like checking the box and getting this enabling legislation, which almost looks like it was written for the town, kind of sorted out. And when is the quarterly implementation meeting?
The next one's not till September 28th.
Excuse me, go back, please, for a minute. What was
Yeah.
that? What is it? Tell me about that.
There's a new committee in town. There's a representative from each of the land use boards and a whole lot of other, every group that's identified in the POCD. And
Okay,
they are tasked with reporting in what progress we have made towards the
yes. okay,
action items that are set out in the POCD.
Okay, it's coming to mind. Okay. This was the effort to be sure that we just don't put it in the
On the show.
in the book, and then it goes on the shelf and nobody.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
got
it.
it. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So, but it would be great to get the Trap Rock. I think Simsbury has most Trap Rock of any of the towns in Connecticut. So, it would make sense for us to have Trap Rock with protection.
Yeah.
And it's,
There has been so much interest on the Trap Rock subject and so much preparation going into what is the next actual step for implementation? What should we be immediately paying attention to? What's the next step?
I think we need to, get a set of information together,
Okay,
give that information to the Board of Selectmen and to the Zoning Commission, and go to those two commissions to give a short overview about why this is important and why we should enable this legislation. That's what that makes sense to me, but I don't know if that's exactly what we should do.
well, I'm just writing it down. First to the Board of Selectmen, because that's who we talk to, and then secure their interest in the subject. And then, but is there an education element that we have to do first?
Well, here's the key point, Helen. When
Uh-huh.
we first brought this up, several members of the Open Space Committee said, "What's a Trap Rock Ridge?"
Yes,
So I think the public education piece is making sure, and maybe we make a banner, Tom, and we put this stuff under it on the website. I mean, I can send you a few things, the enabling legislation, there's books that have been written on these Trap Rock Ridges. So we just get the information kind of compiled in one place. Maybe that's the best thing to do, because then everybody can see it. And then we have the information, we give zoning and the Board of Selectmen a heads up about this, ask them to look at the information, assume that they haven't, and then go to the meeting and give a little overview about why it's important. And then I believe it would be zoning that would vote to enable the legislation, but I'm not sure. Maybe they just make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
okay.
There'd probably be a public hearing too. There might be a public hearing. I'm not sure about that either. Maybe not, because it's already enabled.
Wouldn't it just, to me, wouldn't it just be a zoning regulation? It wouldn't be, I don't know that the Board of Selectmen would determine that. To me, it seems more like you can't build over so many stories, or you can't do this. You have to have this many setback, this many feet on a setback. That seems like our zoning regulation to me versus a Board of Selectmen regulation.
I
They
thought
can
it
certainly
was zoning,
enforce
but I
it.
didn't know if it was a little bit gray on policy, so I didn't want to leave anybody out if they felt like they should be in the loop about it. I mean, if once we get the information compiled, we can send it to whoever.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's good to educate, like you said, education. Everybody learns a little something about this, and if they're behind it, it's something that when they could certainly make a referral to the zoning board to consider this if they already haven't. But and Helen's correct. You guys usually go through board, recommend a policy or or an initiative to the Board of Selectmen and let them decide where they stand and push it forward after that to whoever is responsible.
Is this something also that we need letters from conservation and open space and, to send to? But we can get those letters.
Exactly. Yeah, we should get everybody like supporting it. And then I think zoning has the vote.
If I remember correctly, from my past history, there will be a hearing, but that is not until the agency that is responsible, which is the
Zoning Commission?
Zoning.
all right, the zoning commission is the agency that will have to be implementing this officially. So the hearing is at that stage.
Mhm.
Our job is to put it together and to bring it to everyone's attention. And Susan, just now you said, and then send it and hope everybody, and then appear and say that hope everybody has gained some information and has bought into it. Why don't we just say, we will be attending your meeting on a certain date of their meetings, and say, we will be there to present to you. This is the material that we will be presenting. In other words, be sort of be what's the word I'm trying to think
I
of?
don't know, proactive, I guess. Yeah.
Let us be, the people who are pushing this.
Prodding
Pushing is not a good word, but we are the proponents of it. We are the ones that really want to alert everyone, to educate everyone. So I think we should take the total initiative to get that to the zoning commission in all the proper ways. If there is any reason that we question as to the process, the zoning commission chairman is supposed to be a member of our committee. We take it to him right within our committee, and he should be, helping us with the process.
Right. So this conversation today is sort of like a getting organized for bringing this issue to the full committee on September 4th, which should have all the boards represented. Who knows who will attend, but this is the point kind of bringing it up today. And I will send Tom whatever I have, if anyone else has any materials, and we'll get a little section on our website with this information.
Okay.
All right. Do you have the enabling legislation? Do you have easy access to the enabling legislation?
I don't, but I Google it every time and I'm able to find it.
You're
So
able to find it, okay.
Googleable.
All right, I'll try to pull some stuff together because I know I've got lots of stuff on it, so I'll
Yeah,
put some stuff together.
perfect. Yeah, that would be great.
Maybe if we have a draft letter, it would speed things up for the next full meeting.
Yeah,
Open
exactly.
space. Yeah.
Then we should get a letter, and then that letter can go out from us and then from the other boards after that.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. Okay.
Oh, that would be great.
All right.
Okay.
And it again falls under the upcoming educational events and materials. Does anyone have, I know, there's the dark skies material, events. Roaring Brook's been hosting a series of garden events, gardening with wildlife events. If anyone wants to come, they're still ongoing. We'll be talking about bees and pollinators Sunday. But there's more coming up about wildlife, how to garden with and how to deal with wildlife humanely in your garden. Anything, I know that the programs are being set up for the Simsbury Land Trust this fall. Sure what Pollinator Pathway is up to. But there are lots of events, but last night at the Conservation Commission, we were talking about, again, invasive plants. And we were thinking about having a workday. Tom, I don't know if Brittany had a chance to talk with you, but we were thinking of setting up some dates through the Conservation Commission and this is something we could also do through open space, to have a presentation workday at Simsbury Farms. Be an easy one. We could do it in the Apple Barn if I can set the date, and see if anyone, and advertise it through the town for people to come for a presentation, why we should care about these things. And then we can go out on the trail and actually do some work. But
Absolutely. The date you were looking for is booked already. Both days that weekend are booked at the Apple Barn.
Oh, darn.
The work day is fine, but that particular presentation day,
Okay.
that weekend is booked.
so
So we
can't
have to
get
either find
another place to do
no,
it. Okay. All right. Well, maybe we can find another place to do it. Or another
the
day.
library. I did ask the library that day. I mean, I'm sure the library program room might be available. Might be
Okay,
a
well, we
better.
could do it on, we could do the presentation on another day and do the actual removal on
Yep.
on the weekend. We don't need the Apple Barn for that. So I'll look at my calendar and see if I can get back to that and see if we can
Okay.
get a date at the library.
Okay.
But that would go towards our education aspect. And there's certainly enough invasives along the trail at the Simsbury Farms. Just the question is whether or not we have, what are the, can we do it? Volunteers, are we allowed to, can we use a buckthorn blaster herbicide to kill these things? What, do we need waivers?
I gotta check with Brittany on that.
Okay, so yeah, so there are a whole bunch of questions. I'm going to talk with Brittany at more length about that. But we're looking to do that. And also one for Onion Mountain, because it's, certainly visible in this neck of the woods. Especially, I mean, it's too late to really do it effectively, but at least to cut them down while they're red, it would be very visible. And we were thinking of putting together a sign for that, so that, we could post it up and, something catchy like getting the red out, get the red out. Better dead than red, something will catch people's eyes when they're driving.
Get the red out's probably a better fit.
Although-
this politically charged thing, yeah, I don't know.
I know. Although you, I think, had a great article about like people love the fall red plants, and there are other
Yes,
red plants that are not
Alternative.
invasive, like shadbush and like other red plants. So I wonder, I'm trying to think of something like get a different red or not this red or something.
yeah.
Something like that. So
Yeah,
that,
I mean, we could have on the sign that there are other plants, but I think it's something eye-catchy on the road, and something, that we need on the exercise trail, to talk about these plants. I mean, the autumn olive along the area right near my house, oh my gosh. I could go into business making autumn olive jam, but there is there. And just
at least you can eat
farming.
it. At
What?
least you can eat that.
Yeah,
At least you
yeah.
can eat that.
Yeah, it's very high in lycopene, very good for men. You could sell it. Maybe that's how we'll finance our invasive plant removal.
Lot of golfers up there, Marjorie. You're welcome to give it a try.
Yeah, good. Well, the balls don't reach over that way, or very rarely. So all right. So that's let's see. So that's all I had on that. Does anyone else have anything to discuss for educational events?
Was under educational, no. Well, I guess one thing that's kind of under the next topic, but and this date is pending, but we're going to be hosting wildlife deterrent kit workshop making session, like hazing prevents habits and help your neighborhood, give out a couple of bear whistles and some information. I have these jars at a couple of local businesses. I don't know if you can see that. Stash and latch your trash. Little bear on it. So I have that. So this is full of bear whistles. They're going like hotcakes. And I found the perfect bungee cord that if you can't keep your trash inside and you haven't ordered your bear-proof trash barrel yet, which you should, because both Paynes and All Waste offer bear-proof trash for a nominal additional fee. This bungee cord is like highly effective. You just strap it around the back and strap it on the front. Like if I was the trash can, just put it like this around the front, and it's very tight, and the bear, even a persistent bear will come, may knock over the trash, but it won't make a mess. And if it gets thwarted a couple of times, it won't come back. So this is how we, prevent these, prevent and break habits. Is it unpleasant for the bear to, we're going to be, the land trust things will be sorted out. I'll have some events, and maybe we'll have a whole list we can share.
Susan, the kits you left here at Simsbury Farms, I think there's only one left at this point.
Oh, I was going to ask you if I need to restock. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
yes, I'm looking, I could see only one left out there at this point.
Thank you for hosting them there. I have the full kit there. All the other spots, I just have the jar of the bear whistles. So I'll be happy to deliver.
Okay, yeah, they were popular once they went out there.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Anything about the website streaming updates? Anything?
Susan and I finally were able to sit down, I don't know, about a month or so ago, and did a lot of updating of the open space page on the Town of Simsbury website. We updated the information, we organized it much better into drop-down menus. I think it's a little easier to follow. If you'd like to see it, I can share the screen really quick, or if you just want to take a look on your own, it's townofsimsbury.com. So, yeah, townofsimsbury.com, and then the open space committee page from there.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, right now, this is sort of like we just kind of kicked off everything that was outdated or whatever, tried to streamline things. And now we wanted to just get feedback from people on additional topics or start to add things under each topic. We can also add photos or graphics. So we wanted to get, it's kind of like just bare bones right now. And we wanted to get more, crowdsourcing for any additional ideas for information or visuals.
We will have one more thing to add from the Simsbury Land Trust. We did get funding from various groups to publish our invasive plant booklet that we are planning on printing hopefully by the end of the month and mailing it out to every resident, every property owner in town. So we'll have a PDF that we can put up on but we figured people have, it's great to have it on the website, but people don't think to go to the website necessarily. So we wanted something in their hot little hands to trigger their thinking about some of these, what they might be seeing in their own backyard about, which invasive plants and why they should remove them. And then there are all sorts of little QR codes where they can go and find more information. But a picture is always worth 1,000 words, and having that in your hand has been more effective than just giving someone a website. So that's one of the reasons we'd also like to start doing some townwide invasive plant removal volunteer work. And I know we've talked about having trail stewards and things like that, but we've got to start somewhere training people to recognize these plants and learn how to remove them.
Well, you'd be shocked, Marjorie, but there's a big section on invasive plants on the website.
Good. No, I'm not shocked. But this will be a nice little booklet.
Yes, we'll add this to it's a robust section.
Excellent. Well, it's an enormous, they're the base of the food chain, and everything goes from there. So, getting them out is enormous. An enormous problem, an enormous amount of work. We've been doing invasive plant removal days for the Land Trust. We got rained out a couple of days, got rained out today. But it's amazing how quickly you can go through an area and chop them back. They don't grow as fast as we can chop them down, but you have to get out there and chop them. Still a problem, but all right. Last item on the agenda, but thank you guys for doing that. I look forward to looking at it. Last item is the Arboretum.
Yeah, so this is also something we brought up a couple of years ago and talked about it briefly related to Schultz Park. And the reason why I was thinking about it was that it's such a little gem of a park with so many kind of unique sort of specimen trees, etc. And as you know, the Trinity College campus is an arboretum. So I'm very familiar with all of the paperwork and rules, and I'm quite confident that Schultz Park qualifies as an arboretum if we fill out the documentation and everything. And so it would just involve, you know, uh, documenting what we have, documenting our plan going forward. So if we want species, we're going to only replace with native species or something like that, we could make, you know, decisions like that. And it only requires 25 different species, and I'm quite sure that we have that. And this also relates to that pool of money. This might be close enough to the river that if there were some nice, I don't know what the rules are, but you know, maybe even some of that planting money, or there's been some interest I know in like memorial trees and stuff like that. This might be a place, I don't know. I'm just putting ideas out there, but I do know that it would qualify as an arboretum if we wanted to go down this path. And I thought this might be something that Michelle Jenks, who I don't know her, but I know she
I
was
know.
Hometown Hero. And I think that's something that Schultz Park is something she really cares about.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure, I haven't spoken to her, but I wanted to see if she thinks it's a good idea and maybe she'd be willing to help with that. And previously there's a map on the roof of the gazebo of all the tree species and the map of where they are. And it's quite nice. And it was down for a while getting repaired. And now that map is back up. So it's looking really good. The map's been restored. And
On the website too, Susan.
oh yeah, we put it, yeah, this is Tom and I put it on the website. So that's kind of like a little section that's, you know, ready to move forward when we have the wherewithal to do so.
Do you have any group that, since that was a gift to the town, right? And were there any specifics as to what's to be done? There must be some record of it.
I can look. I don't know the answer to that question. I wasn't here that long ago, and I don't know the history, but I can look.
It was a gift to the town, then there has to be some documentation, whereas the town looks at the gift, looks at the parameters of what is entailed in their wishes going forward, and then they decide to accept the gift. So there has to be that information. And then the town, once it accepts the gift, has to, because it's required by the gifter, that you set up some kind of regulatory group or agency or somebody to implement the wishes. So it has to be there. Have you ever looked at it, Susan?
No, I've only seen just the surface material that I could find.
All right,
But pulling together the application for the Arboretum would entail doing that research and putting that information in there
Okay.
as well.
well,
So that application would be kind of a container for what happened in the past, who's responsible for it, what's there now, what's our intention for the future. All of that would be in the application.
do we have to have some direction and ask this person you just referenced, Jenks? Somebody,
Michelle Jenks, yeah.
if in order to approach her, who would be doing that, approaching her and asking her if she would be interested in this project? Would we have to bring this to the full committee in September and say, this is what we are suggesting, and we just need, everybody's approval to move forward, speak to this person, see if she's willing to help? How then what do you do?
I'll be honest, I don't even think it's that formal. I mean, it's not a secret. We can talk about it with anyone we want to. And we did talk about it at a full open space meeting 2 years ago. So it's not like
Just that's all we have to do
information.
is to bring it
Yeah.
up and say we want to implement it.
Yeah, it's on the website. It says it's overseen by the beautification committee and the Schultz Park Advisory Committee.
Oh,
I don't know who they are,
well, maybe one we have
or at least
or whatever. It's just so
it
somebody
is.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah,
I can talk to Michelle Jenks. I know her.
yeah, if there's no committee, maybe we can just assign it to an existing committee instead of making a new one, another committee.
Oh, yeah, I will email Michelle. I know her and she's,
Oh, great.
so I can find out more. All right. All right. I was just, this really isn't on our agenda, but I was wondering, you know, I know we've talked about it this in the past, the triangle, Barn Door Hills Triangle. Will that be, it's looking better. I mean, but, the mowing, is it scheduled?
Yes, so I checked with he mowed our contractor mowed the field with the barns across from it beginning of last week.
All right.
We put the order in mid-July. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't cooperated like every time. So I just was in contact with him before the meeting, and he, you know, assuming it dries out for the beginning of next week, he'll be out there next week to mow it.
Good, yeah. Yeah.
We're getting rain, like these deep rains every 2 or 3 days. You can't get the tractor stuck. So
No, I figured that was the case. And fortunately, it looks like, I mean, there was some nice goldenrod coming up and other things, but we need to make sure it gets, you know, so that those miserable weeds don't get their seed heads going. So.
Yeah, I've asked them to do it as soon as the weather and conditions allow.
They're sweet. So thank you, Tom. I figured that was the case. It's been a bit damp here.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Marjorie, this is exactly why I asked if seeds were covered. I'm not sure if that area is close enough to the river or whatever, but you know, it would be that's an area where it would cost a lot the seed itself would be expensive for that full area. So it could be a source of money for that.
Yeah,
So,
that and you know, we could look to, I mean, Hartford Audubon has a fund, not large, but we could look to that too. And I know they'd be very excited about getting involved in that project. But again, it has to be determined by the committee or the town that's how we want to manage it. So again, for the whole committee and then the recommendation that we manage as a bird habitat. All right, anything else before we go? All right, thank you, everyone. And we'll see you at the next full meeting. The next one's a full meeting, isn't it?
yes,
September, I believe it.
Good,
Yeah.
good. All right, it's been a while. Okay,
Okay. Thank
All
you,
right.
Marjorie.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
all right, bye-bye.
All right. Bye.